It is just another fine night in Vestavia Hills as we look down to Homewood, down the hill below, on that beautiful campus down there in the valley. We have a special interview planned for you all tonight. And at this point, I would like to ask Dr. John Knapp and Mallory James to come join me here at the fireplace. And you will notice on your program that it says Fireside Chat. And Rosemary, why don't you just turn that chair right on around and just get comfortable, you all, while we have a fireside chat. We don't exactly have a raging fire over there in the fireplace, but we intend to generate a little heat for you all tonight anyway with some questions. Now, I have here in my pocket, I think, a copy of an email message that the two of you all received. In fact, the time and date stamp is October 2nd at 6:26 p.m. that you received a message. The two of you from Mr. Pittman. And in this message, he proposes several questions that you might be asked during this fireside chat. And Dr. Knapp, if you'll hold the microphone for just a second.
I didn't even read the email because I knew you were asking the question.
We're just going to forget about those questions because they're not nearly challenging enough for the two of you. This needs to be an interesting fireside chat, and were I to ask you those simple and mundane questions, this would be no fun at all. Okay, so there you go. An interesting fireside chat's what we're about to have. Actually, I'm going to start off with a couple of very easy questions. Okay, and what I'd like for each of you to do is just tell us a little bit about yourselves first. Just a little bit of biography.
Well, I was hoping you would tell me to tell you about Mallory. And I'd like to tell you that Mallory would be my favorite Samford student, except that I have 3 of my own at Samford. So that's the first thing you want to know about me.
Yeah.
I'm a parent of 3 Samford students, all of whom are actually taking a class together this semester, if you can imagine that. So they're having a great time. And my wife, Kelly, is in the back of the room over there, and that's another thing that I'd like you to know about me, because she's the better representation of the family here. But I direct the Mann Center for Ethics and Leadership at Samford, and we can talk a little bit more about the center and what it does.
Don't go there yet. That's an upcoming question.
We are now in our 5th year with the center, and I've been at Samford for that long. I came from Atlanta. I'm a native Atlantan, and could not resist the invitation when it came to come to Samford and start a new program. And one of the things that persuaded me to come to Samford was spending some time with this guy here to my left.
I'm Mallory James. I'm a senior from Memphis, Tennessee, and I am a social entrepreneurship major here at Samford. I'm in the Fellows Program and the Brock Scholars Program, and I've lived a lot less life, so there's less.
That's a very nice way of saying that, isn't it? Yes, I've lived a lot less life. We all know what that means, John. Yes, we do. Mallory, tell us a little bit about your college selection process and indeed how you chose Samford University.
Well, in high school, when I was deciding which schools to apply to, I had a youth pastor and his wife that had been to Samford, and they encouraged me to apply. And when I told them that I wanted to visit, they brought me to Samford immediately. And I didn't know what I wanted to major in yet, but I thought maybe something in business. And so I made an appointment with this Samford professor in the business school, and he quickly sold me on social entrepreneurship, having no idea that that was actually something that I would be interested in. And it was, because in high school I had the opportunity to go on several mission trips, and I felt like there's a lot more that could be done besides people's spiritual state. You still leave the country in the same economic state, and it started this interest in economic empowerment and what could possibly be done more so along business lines and how you could economically empower people. And so when I found out about social entrepreneurship, I thought, well, this has just got to be it. I've never even heard the word, but using entrepreneurial skills and that mindset to make a social change is the idea behind it. And so I thought, well, this has to be it. And so I learned about the Fellows program and I applied, and once I got in, I knew that this had to be it.
Tell us, now I know that everyone in the room knows the full curricula of the social entrepreneurship program and everything about it. But just the same, in case there might be one or two who don't know all of that, talk with us a little bit about some of the coursework in that program.
In the concentration and the minor, you basically have a business core, and then above and beyond that, there are social entrepreneurship classes that are a broader view of social entrepreneurship, and then there are different electives you can choose from, like nonprofit accounting and different internships that are social entrepreneurship. But I've actually designed my major around social entrepreneurship, which allows me to choose courses that are in and outside of the business school. And so I've chosen other classes like international relations and sociology of poverty and classes like that I think are more encompassing of what I view social entrepreneurship as.
A very good and succinct description. Now I'm going to walk back over here. You understand this evening, ordinarily we would have 3 chairs and I wouldn't have to be doing all of this awkward moving around, except we're too poor here to afford a 3rd chair. Howard, we spent all the money on your chair. So there you go. Yeah. So we have the 2, and I'm roaming back and forth. John, you mentioned the Mann Center earlier, and tell us a bit more now about the work of the Mann Center. And as a lead-in, why don't you mention the connection with Mallory?
Sure. I think the reason you don't have a chair is that you're just kind of getting some practice in case this president thing doesn't work out. You can be a talk show host.
That's
You're pretty good at it.
Yeah.
Let me just give you a little background on the Mann Center. The Francis Marlin Mann Center for Ethics and Leadership was established about 5 years ago, roughly. I came over from Georgia State University, where I was a professor and actually was director of the Center for Ethics and Corporate Responsibility and had been for quite a long time. And I was invited by Samford to come as a consultant to help lead a strategic planning process to design a new center for Samford that would be funded in large part by the generosity of one of our alums, a man named Marvin Mann, who was then recently retired as the chairman and CEO of Lexmark, the computer printer company, and had been chairman of the Fidelity Investments Board. And in his retirement, he remembered his experience at Howard College and his love for Samford, and he wanted to do something special for Samford. And the idea of a Center for Ethics and Leadership was sort of the sweet spot for Marvin Mann. It was something that he and his wife Frances felt very strongly about. And I was privileged to come and lead a process of thinking about what kind of center that would be. What I didn't realize was that after developing a strategic plan and going home feeling very good about it, that the phone would ring about 60 days later and someone at Samford would say, "Do you remember that plan you helped us develop?" And next thing I knew, I was packing to move to Birmingham, Alabama. And it's been a wonderful opportunity. But we are grateful for the support that Marvin Mann has provided. He was with us this week, in fact, at one of these dinners and was visiting us on campus. And the center is named for his late wife, Frances, and we think that that's a worthy name for a Center for Ethics and Leadership. We're very proud of that.
Great. Tell us a little bit about how Mallory is connected with all of this now.
Well, Mallory and I have sort of been joined at the hip since we both came to Samford, I think. I taught a course in South Africa where we go and study the problems that South Africa faces in the post-apartheid era. We look at social and economic and political and public health issues, educational issues, and we try to use that as a way of understanding the complexity of poverty and the complexity of the social problems that many countries in the world face. Mallory was a freshman, and she joined that course and went with me to South Africa. And the next thing I knew, I was announcing plans to go back the following summer to do a service project at a micro-enterprise center, and the first person to sign up was Mallory James. And so we went down to South Africa together again, and Mallory was part of a team that developed for a micro-enterprise center that trains people in small business skills. She developed a process for how to screen candidates to determine who are promising potential entrepreneurs. And that center is actually using the process that Mallory and her student peers developed in screening people who are high potential candidates to be trained to start small businesses. And these are people who have very little education, who live in townships, in informal situations, very basic kind of living. And the opportunity to be trained for a job is a very important opportunity in a community like that. And so that project was well received. And as a result of that process, an agribusiness academy was developed to train people in how to start small agricultural businesses, maybe raise a few chickens or some pigs or grow a little bit of corn. And the process that was developed for screening potential entrepreneurs was used to admit people into the program, but the program needed a curriculum. And so Mallory and I went back to South Africa this past summer, and she led a team of Samford students. Having been to South Africa twice, she was appointed the team leader, and through an entirely student-led process, this group worked for 3 weeks in the township of Massachusetts, right outside of Cape Town, and developed about 30 lesson plans equivalent to a year's worth of instruction in agribusiness techniques, everything from accounting and basic business skills to organic farming and food safety. And you can imagine the amount of work our students had to do to learn those things in order to be able to teach it to someone else. And today they are using that curriculum to train people in South Africa and in countries contiguous to South Africa who come in for the Agribusiness Academy. And it's a Samford curriculum, and more important, a curriculum written by Samford students under the leadership of Mallory James.
And Mallory, as Dr. Knapp was telling that story, I know that you were sitting here thinking, what's going to be left for me to tell about the exciting things that happened in South Africa? And what I'd like for you to do right now is to tell us directly about some of those experiences that you had, some of your memories, and especially how these experiences are shaping who you are now and who you'll become later.
Well, I was glad that he explained that probably better than I would have, but I think that the coolest part for me as a student continuing to go back to South Africa is the fact that I was the one that got to build relationships with people that aren't really used to seeing students come in and out, number one, and aren't used to seeing repeat students come in and out. And this is an organization that doesn't have short-term volunteers because it's kind of hard to plug a short-term volunteer into an organization that does what Living Way does. And so I think the coolest part was seeing the continuity of not only the projects, the screening process that turned into an Agri Academy, and who knows what's coming next summer, but to build those relationships last summer and to come back without them knowing that I was coming back, and the shock on their face when they see, oh, you're back, Samford's back, like what, you came 1,000 miles back again, and to realize what an impact that made on them in turn made such an impact on us, especially the students that went with me this summer that had never been before, and immediately felt the same connection with those people that I did. Just through seeing the relationship that I did, and they haven't graduated from the Agri Academy yet, but I can't wait to see what comes from that. And the intent is that they will go out and start their businesses, and Living Way will send the curriculum with them, and so it'll keep multiplying, and they'll start their own Agri Academy. And so I think the biggest impact that had on me was just seeing, wow, this really did do something. And over the long term, I think it'll do a lot more.
Let me just add one.
Please.
Mallory talks about what she learned And clearly, this is a project with very well articulated learning outcomes in mind. It's not just a service project. We hope to leave our mark. We hope to do something that has lasting value, but we also are very conscious that our students have much to learn from the experience. And I think sometimes we are not as intentional as we could be when we do international study, but in this case, we're very conscious of what the opportunity is for student development. It's not just learning business and how to articulate a business curriculum at a level that somebody can understand with an 8th grade education. That in itself is very important. But the reason the Mann Center for Ethics and Leadership has developed this project is this is part of a larger initiative to help our students live out the Samford mission of making the world a better place. When we talk about the world is better for it, well, you know, the world will be better for it if our students really learn how to be people who can make the world a better place. And so this is an opportunity to go and really learn how to be an agent of change. And being an agent of change means understanding the complexity of the problems that you're tackling and developing some cross-cultural sensitivity, the ability to put yourself into a new situation with some humility, and at the same time to be very focused on the need to bring about some tangible outcome in the work. And I think our students have done that very, very well. And it's impressed me every time we've given students that opportunity.
In fact, when Mallory returned from that experience this summer in South Africa, she sent me a beautiful email message outlining some of the experiences that she had there and commenting about the fact that these service learning opportunities are of such vital significance for all of our students, and expressing the hope that we could continue to expand those opportunities now and in the years ahead. I think it's not a widely understood feature of Samford, but it is rooted very deeply in the culture here, and I think that you've been able to hear from these two guests tonight about the importance of all of that. And in large measure, your gifts do help to underwrite those aspects of our program, and we're grateful for all that you do to support those causes and so many others that are important to Samford. I thought in concluding questions here, let's go a slightly different direction now and be thinking, the two of you if you would, about perhaps, and I know that the South Africa experience is what we talked about here tonight, but we've talked about that, so think of yet another. An experience that you've had at Samford that has been especially meaningful. Maybe it's been an encounter with a colleague or a peer or a member of our faculty and staff. An experience that has been so meaningful to you that you have known then and in the days after. This is something that, that is so rich to me, I'll treasure it for the remainder of my life. Do you have that experience that you would share with us?
Of course, I'd like to say it was the day I met you, Andy,
but that would not be true. Yeah.
Well, let me speak a little more generally, but to give you a sense of what I experienced as a member of faculty, and I guarantee you my colleagues would tell you the same thing. Samford is a very, very special place to work and to teach. And one reason for that is that we share a sense of what this is all about. I am amazed every day at how our faculty across every discipline, across all 8 schools on our campus, and I work across all 8 schools because our center is a university-wide center, how all these people share a sense of what Samford's mission is, a commitment to that mission, and I think a great clarity about what a Samford graduate is. You know, what makes a Samford graduate a Samford graduate? It's not even articulated with a great specificity sometimes, but we know it. And what that makes possible from my point of view as a faculty member who does work across all disciplines is that we can bring together faculty on our campus from any combination of disciplines, and they will gladly work together on a project for the good of the institution. Now, you may take that for granted if you haven't worked at a university, but I can tell you that many universities, that is nigh unto impossible to pull off. And I'll give you just one example. This morning, I was chairing a committee meeting, and we had in that meeting the chairs of our departments of political science, religion, biology, one of the departments in our business school, one of the departments in our education school, and we're all talking together about a program to enrich student learning. And it felt perfectly natural for people from this very disparate group of disciplines to sit down together and talk about this, because we have more in common than the differences we have in what we teach. And at so many universities, we have schools and departments that are siloed, that really very seldom talk to one another, and frankly would often say to me when I was at public universities, well, why should I be concerned about what goes on over there? So it's that shared sense of commitment to this mission and an understanding of what the mission is that I think drives that kind of collegiality, that kind of openness to working with one another. You don't find turf battles going on at Samford the way you do at other universities.
That's true.
Because we're all in it together for the same mission, and I believe that very sincerely.
Well said.
Kind of off of what Dr. Knapp said, how we're all going after the same mission. One thing I found at Samford that I didn't really expect, I don't think any high school student, especially a large public high school, would expect, is the level of involvement professors are willing to have in their students' lives, and the encouragement that comes with that, and how it really can change your mindset. I think back to my freshman year years ago, and I had Dr. Fisk as one of my first professors, and it was a writing and rhetoric class, aka speeches, and it was not my favorite thing, but I sit here today and I can speak in front of all of you because I had Dr. Fisk my freshman year, and if it weren't for that encouragement and the way that she pushed us, I don't think that I would be here right now. And the same thing with Dr. Knapp. You just don't really expect to knock on someone's door or for them to even have an open door and you just walk in and be able to sit down and talk. And I can think of a number of times where I've been in Dr. Knapp's office, planned or unplanned, and been there for hours and talked about a number of things, issues, life crises, asking for advice, anything. And that's across the board, anyone I'm coming into contact with at Samford. And so it really just changed your attitude on, what people are willing to do, and that they really do care about the students here, and that they are willing to be invested because they want Samford graduates to have access to things that can help them be the best graduates possible.
I know y'all were much more interested in hearing Mallory this evening than me, because this is what it's all about, and the students is what it's all about. And I did bring some brochures on the center that will tell you all about what we do. We do great work in the center, and Andy wouldn't give me an hour, though I asked for it, to give a full presentation of everything we do. But I would like for you to know about the center and to know about the things that we're doing across the campus. I think you'd be intrigued by some of it. It's pretty creative work. But we have a brochure that'll introduce you to that, and we have a website that'll tell you more, and that'll take care of my commercial message.
Very well said, Dr. Knapp and Mallory. Thank you so much. Let's applaud them for their attendance here this evening. Thank you.